Welcome to each and every one of you. I'm Reverend Janet Childs, and I'm excited to invite you to our UCM Speakers Series. And this is from Universal Church of the Master. It's an amazing spiritual organization, and I encourage you to join with us and consider making a donation for this class, but also consider getting to know us better and ways that we can support you. We are so honored and privileged to have Reverend Joan Stutes, who has a long career in many different dimensions, but she's an Aries, so we know that. And what is wonderful about Joan is that she is not afraid to travel frontiers, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or social. She is there providing support, providing wisdom, and I'm just so excited about this topic. I'm calling it an astrology primer, but I'm thinking that Joan is calling it, What Do You Want to Know About Astrology? And she's going to give us a little hint into this world and how we can use it and how we can work with it. And so we're just so honored to have you here, Joan. And as a matter of fact, we have a tradition on our speaker series of lighting the candle. And that signifies the wonderful light that we can be for and with each other in this moment in time as we share our wisdom and as we share our thoughts. And before my brother died, he taught me how to fold the origami heart. And with every fold, a good wish and an intention is made. And so if it's okay with everybody, we're going to light this candle. Is that all right with everyone?
Really?
That's super, Janet. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And at the end of this session, I will be giving this candle to our wonderful speaker, Joan, as a thank you. Absolutely. So there it is. And we are that light. And we just invite you to relax, settle in, and allow your entire being to be here as we explore the dimensions of astrology. Thank you, Reverend Joan.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Janet. And it's such a privilege to be here at Universal Church of the Masters, a long time spiritual center, which started in the early 1900s and has survived this whole time by serving people to become aware of not only the physical world, but the non-physical world and how it all fits together. One of the nice things about studying the whole idea of and program that the Universal Church of the Masters offers is that you get to delve into a lot of different aspects of spirituality. It's not just reading the Bible and talking to Jesus and praying at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock every day. It's a much broader spectrum. It does include astrology. Now, for me, astrology in a way saved my life because I was very disconnected and not knowing which way to turn. I felt like I was a leaf on a storm-tossed sea. First this and then that. And so many different things happened to me and around me that it just bothered me a lot. And I had no way of having a core or a center or a point of stability. So when I discovered astrology, excuse me for my throat just now, when I discovered astrology, I felt at home. And this was in the mid-60s, the early 70s. And astrology was not really an accepted course of study at that time. Astrology was one of those way out things that a few weirdos talked about. So I had to be very careful about talking about astrology. And I got a divorce. Just a second. I don't know what it is about my throat. At that time, I was married. I had two small children. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had the ability and the time to read lots of books. And I concentrated on reading the books on astrology. And they were old books with old language. Now, since during COVID, the sale of astrology books surged, increased 500%, because people had time. And how did they choose to spend it? Studying astrology. So during these years, astrology has moved from a kind of weirdo study into almost mainstream. Almost everybody you talk to has some knowledge about astrology and has some recognition of it, and probably at least know their sun sign, and may even know some of the characteristics of their sun sign, so that they can rely on that information and recognize people of the same sun sign, which gives them kind of an instant compatibility. But back then, when I was studying, that was not common. People did not know those things. But I had a lot of fun. I had a little book that only did not deal with the ascendant. It only dealt with the sun sign. And as I worked through it and gave readings for my friends, turned out to be amazingly accurate. And all of a sudden, I had a framework that I could count on. So I've been in love with astrology for a long time. Now, while I was in the real estate field for 30 years, I used it privately. In other words, I looked up my clients' information and worked with them as I could see in their astrology signs, but I didn't talk to them about it because many of them were very hard Christians, and that was totally the work of the devil. Oh my goodness. So that's how I became in love with astrology and have enjoyed it so much, and how I've benefited from it. I thought what we do tonight is just have a conversation about astrology. And so the first question that I had was why is astrology important to me? And I tried to explain to you a little bit about how I felt about it. Now, my first husband, John, was a Virgo, and we had some Aries and Virgo are not really compatible. We had various tensions going on, and I was thinking about getting a divorce. I actually wrote to the astrology magazine and asked them to do a compatibility chart and give me some direction. And they suggested that we were not compatible and that there might even be violence involved. So be very, very careful. Well, I kind of woofed that off. Violence involved? Hello. I mean, John's a CPA. We're college educated. We live in Cupertino. We're in a nice neighborhood. But at one point, and we did not own any guns. At one point, he did say, I'll find a gun and line you all up and shoot you one at a time for me and my children. Now, I've never figured out what the astrology magazine lady saw that I didn't see, but it was interesting that that came out of the reading, and it did end up having an element of truth in our negotiations of getting the divorce, which incidentally, John turned out to be an excellent ex-husband. He sent the money and stayed out of the way. And ultimately, he became good friends with the kids. Okay, so that's how astrology is important to me. Let's see. How can it help you? Well, by knowing some basics, just a sun sign, you may find it an easy compatibility and with different people. And if you don't have that easy compatibility, then you'll know how to work with it so that your relationship becomes productive. Because let's face it, we're not always compatible with everybody that's put in our family or put in our workplace, but we need to learn how to get along with them. So what I like to do when I meet people and think about astrology, and I'll put this back in the chat session, but I look up I get their sun sign, and I only work with the sun sign with this. And for example, when I met Jeannie, we had a kind of an instant compatibility. Okay, what's her sun sign? She's a Sagittarius. All right, she's a fire sign. I'm a fire sign. So there's an instant compatibility there. Now, when I meet Virgos, I have an instant protective thing come back to overcome me, partly because of my experience with John, but also because that instant recognition of fire and earth. Virgo is an earth sign. Aries is a fire sign. Now, if you think about where does fire and earth meet? In volcanoes, right? Yes. Explosions, right? So this is not an easy compatibility. And I believe Dottie's a Virgo. And I respect Virgos because they're so detail oriented and have big plans and the whole thing. But I've learned how to step back and allow them to operate in their own realm and their own environment. So so I'm an Aries. I'm a fire sign. My sister's a Cancer. Okay, what's Cancer? A water sign. Okay, where does fire and water meet? Well, it's more volcanoes, boiling water. And, Cancer is the crab, and I am the ram. Those are the symbols for those two. So what happens there is the crab, when they get upset, they crawl into their hole and won't speak to you. Now, my sister decided I did something wrong about 20 years ago, and we still have limited conversations, although it's better, but she's still in her little protective environment. So when I meet crabs, when I meet Cancers, I know they're a crab, I know they're a water sign, and I know that they're tender, and we have to be gentle with these people. So I made up a chart, a simple chart, so that you can work with it and say, okay, how how do I match up with the people that I'm meeting? And the simplest way that I've felt is simply to know the sign and the element. So Aries is fire, Taurus is earth. Okay, where does fire and earth get together? Explosions. Then we have Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Ideas. Ed is a Gemini. Ideas. They like to talk and they love new things. So how do I get along with Geminis? I like to talk to them. Now what if, and I can go through the whole list if you want me to, or if you want to ask what yours is, you don't know. But the other thing is how do I keep track of all this stuff? Well, I've memorized it over the years, so it pops into my brain. But it's quite easy to remember. There's a lot of books, and this chart can help you in that whole idea. Now, one of my friends is a Sagittarius. But I was stunned when I met him because I pegged him for a Virgo, and I was absolutely stunned. Now, Sagittarius is a fire sign, right? So I'm a fire sign, Sagittarius is a fire sign. I should get along with that person. But there was something about it that just felt very distant and more like Virgo. So I did do his chart, and a lot of his influences are in Virgo. If your sign doesn't seem to fit you, you probably have other influences in other signs and other elements. I have 4 Leos in my family, and they all have this. Leos have a star quality. They are king of the jungle. Excuse me, of course I'm in charge. So we have to let them be in charge. I have these 4 Leos, and they all have star quality, but the ones that come at the very beginning of the sign are kind of reluctant Leos. Forced into a star position, they'll step forward. The one at the very end is the same way. They'll rise to the occasion, but it's not all the time. The 2 in the middle, man, they're with it all the time. So sometimes you have to look at where you are in your birth sign. If you're at the very beginning of it, you may have influences that are from the previous sign. If you're at the very end, you may have influences from the next sign over. All right, now I'm going to tell you something. Then I'm going to ask you a question. So this is planet Earth. Got it? Planet Earth. Here I am. I was born at midnight. And so looking at the sky above me, there's stars above me. Mars is above me, as so happens. But there's still more sky down here. And if you look out this way, you see the horizon. You look out this way, that's where the other horizon is. So when we see the astrology chart, it's a circle, and it shows where you are, and then it shows you all the heavens all around, and it shows the rising sign on the east and the declining sign over there. the three most important parts are sun, moon, and rising or ascendant sign. If those three are compatible, you have good energy going forward, you can conquer the world. If they are maybe not as compatible, you may have a few challenges. All right, now I'm going to ask you at this point, because I don't want to, I want to move on to some other topics. But do you have any questions about sun, moon, ascendant, water, earth, fire, or your own sign or anything? Questions? Hi, Donna.
Hi.
You came in late. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'm trying to follow it. I'm a little challenged.
Okay.
I'm sorry I was late.
No worries.
That's okay. I'm glad you came. And Patty and Joyce, hi. It's good to see you.
Yes.
Oh,
Donna
hi,
and Kevin. So,
Joan.
yes,
Hi, this is Joyce.
yes.
And so far, I'm having my life and relationships flash before my face. I had the audacity to be involved with a Leo who wanted the world to shine every which way that Leo went. And there I was picking up the pieces because somebody had to pick up the pieces. And but anyway, I'm a Gemini, June 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, 1949.
Yes.
And I was born during the storm. I was born during a storm. I always think that's amusing. And I just wanted to let you know that so far I'm really enjoying myself. It's very insightful, and the way you're presenting it, it makes sense. You know,
Okay.
I can apply it. It makes sense. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That was my goal.
Well, you did it. It's making sense.
Well, Leo and Gemini, you played your parts, right?
Oh yeah.
They were the star, and now my daughter is very much, she was an ice skater, you know, and she's still the star.
Mhm.
And I go around and manage other parts of it. So what's Patty? Patty, what are you?
I'm a Sagittarian.
So Leo, Gemini and Sagittarius, good combination.
Ah,
You know, Gemini is an air. They're with air. Sagittarius is fire. So those two will burn brightly.
Mhm.
Now, Kevin and Donna are Sag and Capricorn, right?
Right.
Yep. I'm on the 20th, so I've always considered myself on the cusp. January 20th.
Donna, January 20th. Yeah, so you're Capricorn, right?
Mm-hmm. But I'm on the
But
cusp,
very
I
close
believe.
to Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's different thoughts about that. When I was first in astrology, there was a lot of talk about cusps and picking up traits from the next sign.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, that's no longer, I haven't heard anything about cusps for a while. But I will tell you that when you're on the edge of the sign like that, you often have Mercury and Venus or other planets in the next sign over, so you soften somewhat. But
I don't
what
think
was
so.
your husband, Donna?
He was March 4th. So I think that's Leo. Pisces, March 4th.
Yeah. Yeah, so think about it. Donna is Earth. What was his name? Ben? Bill?
Bill.
Bill was Earth. So where does Earth and water meet? In canals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. So Donna is channeling the energy of the relationship, and Bill is writing the energy within the channel.
Hmm.
Yeah. My sister was earth and water. Yeah. And I commented on that to her, and she said, well, yeah, there's a lot of muddy water.
Oh, but that's a beautiful image, Joan. I just want to honor that image, the earth being energized by the water through the canal. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That really fits.
So this other Donna and Kevin are Sag and Capricorn. And normally those are adjacent signs. Remember, there's Sagittarius in December and then Capricorn in January. Generally speaking, those signs aren't compatible because Sagittarius is fire, Capricorn is earth. Where does fire and earth meet? Explosions, volcanoes.
Well,
But they have they've been married a long time. So what I know about their charts, without ever having done their charts, I know this, that there are other compatibilities there that have worked out. Yeah. Janet, what are you?
Gemini, does that mean anything?
What?
We got married under Gemini. Does that mean anything?
Gemini, huh? Means you talk a lot.
Characteristics not necessary.
I know.
Yeah, we got to do more digging on.
I would swear that I'm the Capricorn and she's the Sagittarius when I read the first page.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't always fit, but you'll see signs of it. And I would say the Sagittarius part of you roams around and makes coffee for us. That's your Sagittarius, you're outgoing,
okay.
you're connecting.
100%. I couldn't agree
Yeah.
with you more, Joan.
And Capricorn is staying at home making quilts.
Wants to make.
Janet, what are you?
I'm a Gemini.
Oh, we are blessed with Geminis in this organization. Well, of course, they're the talkers, you know. So good for you. Okay, anything more? So I will put this cheat sheet in the chat again. And the one other part that you may want to learn is what is a symbol, okay? Like for Gemini, it's the two twins. So you have two people talking to each other and exploring, you know. And Capricorn is the mountain goat. It's actually called a sea goat, but they're always looking for firm footing. And Sagittarius is half man, half animal. And Donna, what are you? Capricorn, sea goat, always looking for let's see. It's interesting how we've ended up here. We've got Capricorn, Sag, Gemini. And what's Patty? Sag?
Gemini. Oh, she's a Sag. Patty's a Sag.
Oh, this
Oh,
is
yes.
so
Patty's a
funny.
Sag.
Yes.
This is so funny, the group that we have here.
Isn't it amazing? Thank goodness we have our Capricorns to help ground us.
Way to go, Capricorns.
Yes.
Well, out of amazing, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have repeats. So pretty interesting. Let's see.
Centaurs.
Okay, I hit that. Let's see. Okay, Lauren asked me about moon phases. So I'm going to change. This is a little different, but it's still in the heavens. So we'll talk about this. The moon every month, every 28 days, goes through 4 phases. The theory is that generally speaking, no matter where your moon is in your chart, that generally speaking, the population as a whole, everyone, is impacted by the movement of the moon phases. Okay. So the new moon is starting a project. It's start energy. At the first quarter, you're getting it going. You're excited. You've got it pretty well outlined. At the full moon, you can finally see where you're going. You're on the cusp of having to together. At the third quarter, now energy is diminishing. So you're starting to wrap up your project. And then at the new moon, where there's no moon at all, then there's no energy, and it's time to rethink things and figure out where you want to go next. Okay, but this is the population as a whole. And as you know, you've heard, I'm sure, that police and hospitals are very aware of the moon activity, and on full moon, with all that energy bursting out, there's more crime, there's more difficulties, there's more upsets. So from one of the ways you could use this moon energy is to stay at home on the full moon.
I wanted to say there are also more births.
More babies, more babies.
More babies. Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Corky.
Welcome,
Hello.
Corky. Yay. Dottie, welcome.
Hi, Dottie and Corky.
Our
So
house
for
is being
school-
bombed, so we're in the car.
Oh, okay. What? Oh, you're bombed. Oh, I see. So this is a whole thing of the moon. The moon impacts everything. When I was sailing, one of the things we looked up was the tides, because if you want to sail without an engine, you need the energy of the tide to push you out and pull you in. Yeah. So you want to be aware of the tides, which are the moon impacts amazingly, very strong. Now on St. Croix, they used to have a full moon party every month on the beach, and it was a big deal where you could have hamburgers and beer and bring your chair and sit out on the beach, and they'd sing to the full moon, and it was just a lot of fun. So I thought maybe we should have a full moon party. Doesn't that sound like fun?
That does sound fun.
Okay, my friend Joan Lancaster, whom some of you remember, heard about this idea of writing a check on the Bank of Abundance at the new moon. So you have 24 hours, and it may not even be full 24, but on the day of the new moon, you sit down and write out a check and give thanks for the universe sending you a specific amount of money. And she does this regularly. And it's just amazing. These amounts of money show up like refunds and gifts and different things. There is a website where you can download the check if you want to join in that specific endeavor. So, but there is a whole group of people doing this regularly. And it's one way to create abundance in your life that is kind of mystical. But I know that for her, it works. I've tried doing it a couple of times, but you know what? Somehow to me, it seems a little weird. So it has not worked for me. but she has good luck with that. Now, have any of you heard of that? Or have any of you tried that? Okay, what's your experience with it, Joycey?
No, well, two things. I just finished reading something on it, and I'm not recalling the book and all of that. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And I have not done that. There are things that I do or thoughts that I have about finances, and it's mostly centering around, clients and being open and receptive to receive. That way to have the calls come through and do the work and like that. I do that, and I find that that's very comforting. But I haven't tried the other one. Perhaps I need to talk to you about that and know more about it and give it a go. And if we cannot hurt, can only learn a lesson or gain.
Why not harness the energy of the universe to help you along? I mean, it's
Yes.
universe is always saying yes. The problem is we don't ask the question often enough.
Mhm.
So if you want to hear yes more, you need to ask the question more often. And one way to ask the question on abundance is to participate in this writing the check. Now, Sean has a whole, what's Sean's last name, Dottie? Mel and Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Imler.
Imler.
Okay.
Yeah.
He gave a whole seminar on moon phases. And he had it down to an eighth of a moon. So there were different energies for different phases, for smaller phases of the moon. And if you want, I think he probably has something on his website about it, but it was pretty interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I personally use that information? I don't even think about the moon. I'm just amazed when I go outside and see it up there in the sky. Are any of you like that? And I read where there's a full moon of some sort that's very special on my birthday this year, on the day after my birthday this year, March 25th. So I'll have to look it up and see what it's all about. Now, in your chart, so let me go back to astrology. You have the sun and you have the moon. The moon will be probably in a different sign, and will have different energies. And the moon is the sign of your love energy, your emotional being, your ability to relate to people. So you want to learn about your moon sign as well as your sun sign. Question, Donna?
I'm trying to turn off my mute because my dog's barking and I'm on my phone and I always have trouble finding the mute and video buttons. So I apologize, but I'm trying to turn off the mic so that the dogs don't interfere with your talk.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. I was remembering one talk that I attended one time and the dog barked the whole time. Drove us crazy. But, we always persevere, right?
There, Donna got it. She got it on mute.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to talk about additionally about the moon? Do you know your moon sign? Do you know where your moon is in your astrology chart?
Yeah, I'm not really happy about it, but I know where it's at.
Okay, where is it?
In Aquarius.
And you're a Gemini?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at this. This is air and air. This is absolutely fabulous.
That's going to make me more airy fairy than ever.
I don't know. Do you know where it is?
Well, you're not fighting.
This
You're,
is true.
you're not fighting. Now, you may get blown away by the number of ideas you get involved with, but you've always handled a wide variety of projects, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, there's been kind of one theme, but yeah, a lot of different manifestations of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only
So-
that, there's I'm going to talk about Pluto in a minute, and it's going to be very big in Aquarius. Kevin, was that you saying something? Who had a question?
Oh, I'm a Cancer and Dottie's moon is in, she's a Virgo with a moon in Scorpio. I don't know where my moon is. Being Cancer's a moon
Dottie
in a,
has the moon. So Dottie has the moon in Scorpio. Is that what you're telling
Yep.
me?
Yep.
I have the moon in Scorpio.
oh,
No wonder we get along.
And I
That's
love
pretty-
Scorpios. I think
You
Scorpios
what?
are one. I love Scorpios. Most of my relationships have been Scorpios.
Really?
Hmm.
That's not, okay, think about it. That's not a natural union, because Scorpio is what?
Water.
Water. Gemini is air. Where do water and air meet? Waves crashing on the beach. Yeah.
Clouds. Steam.
Clouds, steamy, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Are you now the truth of it is you have something else that's driving that, so to balance that out. But and Corky, you have the moon in Cancer?
no, I'm a Cancer sign. I'm July.
She
So
is a
I don't know where
Cancer.
my moon is.
Yeah.
Did you lose your moon?
Well, I was born in Cancer, and Cancer's, the moon is the sign for Cancer. And so I figure that's a lot of moon right there.
Well,
I don't know if
I talked about Cancer earlier with the symbol of Cancer being the crab, and how my sister, who is a Cancer and a crab sign, also when they get hurt, they curl up and go away and fret sometimes.
Yeah, I do a lot of inner stuff. It's
Yeah.
withdrawal, hide.
And that's how you've been successful with your practice of talking to people about what's going on inside. Yeah.
That's not so bad.
Yeah.
I tell myself things I don't even know. So, yeah.
That's
Okay.
wonderful, Corky. Well, that's a beautiful example of what you're just saying, Joan. That's a powerful acknowledgement of that. There are all of these forces. It's not just one thing, but you can determine some basic truths by even just knowing the sun sign and where your moon is at.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant.
Absolutely. My cat is all upset. Let me get her out here.
All these little animals, furry animals.
Mhm.
I know. Well, you know the saying that dogs have owners, but cats have staff.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I have 3 of these babies. They're just very precious.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, my first husband, John, was a Virgo, and we had a nervous relationship for 17 years. And Earl was a Scorpio, and you wouldn't think of Aries, a fire sign, and Scorpio, a water sign, getting together. Remember, it's fire and water, right? But I have the moon and Jupiter in Scorpio. And so right on with his sun. So we had this instant connection, very instant, strong connection that lasted 32 years without too many bumps in the road. So, you know, there's a lot of different elements in the whole thing. And what is the sign? What is the symbol for Scorpio?
Isn't it the scorpion?
Scorpion,
Mhm.
because they can be very biting in their talk. Yeah, hurt feelings. Yeah.
So actually, Scorpio, I believe, is the only sign that actually has 4 different symbols. One is the scorpion, the next is the snake, the next is the eagle, and the last is the phoenix.
Hmm.
So I always found that powerful. They're a transformative sign. They can transform.
Now, is that 4 different signs from different cultures throughout
No,
history?
it's
or-
just what Scorpios,
Huh.
yeah, my
Well, and the idea is that there's such a wide range of personality or evolvement, I guess I would call it, on a Scorpio. If they are into transformational, they can be very high level, very powerful meditators.
Mm.
But a lot of the mafia were in Scorpio, you know. Think about it. You know, different levels of
Scorpions.
evolution. So do you have anything else, any questions? Is this fun or what?
Yeah.
It is.
I'm just having such a good time.
We're having a wonderful
I
time.
hope you guys are having fun.
Yeah.
We are having a wonderful time. Are you kidding? This is great, Joan. And you're making it so clear in your presentation. So Donna, stay with us. Donna Christensen was saying she was getting overwhelmed by it, but stay with us because Joan really expressed it very clearly at the beginning. Earth, fire, air, and water. Those are our 4 elements. There are 12 signs, right? I mean, and each of them, there are 3 signs in each element. And I think that that's so good to know. So if I know that Sagittarius is fire and I know Taurus is earth, you know, I'll know how to do that. I'll know how to pay attention to the potential qualities. So this has been wonderful, Joan. Please
Yay,
continue.
Janet just summarized my whole talk. Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Okay, so the next thing is, how can you use this in your ministerial duties? So, of course, one way is just to know the sun sign, know how to get along with them. Now, we talk about meeting people and just accepting them as they are. And that's the high spiritual level, of course. And we aim to do that. I know that's our goal. But everybody we meet isn't as easy to embrace. So sometimes we look at the signs and find out how we can embrace those people, even if they're not easy. You know? So that's one of the ways that I use it. But the other thing to think about is that there's times in everyone's life that are difficult. And of course, the first one is what's called the Saturn return. Okay, remember that when you're born, you have a chart with all the planets in different places, and Saturn was somewhere. So in my chart, Saturn was in Pisces when I was born. So what happens is Saturn goes and then in 30 years it comes back to that same exact point. And then your life changes. There's an upset. There's an expansion. There's some kind of reevaluation at 30. That's when I got my divorce, you know, after all those years of nervous energy with my Virgo. I got my divorce shortly after the Saturn return. What do you remember something that changed in your life at age 30?
I do.
Okay.
I was no longer in a relationship that wasn't a relationship. You know, it was one-sided, and I felt great. I really felt good, and I felt like myself. Because when you're in relationships that aren't relationships, you spend so much time trying to have a relationship or being there and all of that kind of stuff, and it's very draining. But I was going through lots of changes and move into Santa Cruz and all kinds of stuff. But I felt really good. And so I'm very thankful for that.
It's generally a time of moving away from family values and moving into your own space and becoming the person that you're meant to be. And that's when I was going through the divorce, stay-at-home mom, studying astrology, getting a divorce, you know, that whole thing. Those big changes. Who else had a big change at age 30? Around age 30?
30 was a wonderful year for me. I had been divorced for 2 years, and I had moved to California, and I had wonderful friends, you know, that I met in California, and we became very close, and I had a wonderful job at El Camino Hospital, and it was just a very happy time for me. Very happy. And soon after that, when I was 32, I met Bill. So it was just a wonderful period in my life.
So where were you moving from?
From New Jersey.
So see, her family was in New Jersey,
Yep.
totally upended her life,
Yep.
moved to California. Good for you, Donna.
Oh, it was a wonderful move. I really wanted to go to Germany, but I was too scared. So I came to California first, and then I fell in love.
Did you ever get to Germany?
I went for a 2-week trip
Okay.
that I had planned before I met Bill. So, but the whole time I was in Germany, I thought of Bill. I was like, I have to go back and marry this guy.
Well, see, lots of changes. So
Yep.
then what happens is Saturn is here, right? And then it starts going around again. And then it comes clear around and hits that same spot at age 6. So at age 60, we go through another transformation around age 60. And when I was in the financial services business, I can't tell you how many people around age 55-ish would tell me, oh, I woke up and I said, oh shit, I have to do something about retirement. And this is when you begin thinking your career is established and you begin thinking of retirement and the next steps in your life. And so, do you remember something that happened when you were 60? 60-ish, around that time.
I took a trip to Lilydale,
Oh, yes.
so that changed my path. And
She took Lilydale.
Oh, I've always wanted to go
that's very
there.
different.
I have to
Good
get
for
there
you.
someday.
I hear it's magical. Is that
It's
true?
very magical. Yep. You have
Yeah.
to, you feel it the minute you're on the grounds. Yeah.
Mhm. So Earl and I got married when we were 56. And we spent the next few years sailing and traveling. So my life changed substantially at age 60.
Yeah.
And let's see, is everybody here at least 60? I guess so. Yeah. Okay. So you've done 2 Saturn returns. So, on this year I'll be 89. So next year I'll have my my 3rd Saturn return. So I'll get to tell you about what that is about next year. But again, it's change. I'm writing a book called the Oh Shit Retirement Plan. And I plan to have it out by the end of the year, and it's going to be a workbook. And, it's another whole change. And why not do something radical at age 90, like write a book? And my daughter and I talked about a trip to Iceland, not this year, but next year, earlier today. So, after all, I'm an Aries. I got to stay radical, right?
That's wonderful, Joan.
Stay radical.
Keep it on the edge. Stay radical. Absolutely.
That's funny. You betcha.
Yeah.
So then Uranus is another planet that chugs around, right? It's a bigger, slower planet. It's way out here. Ooh, way out here. It makes 1 revolution in 84 years. 84 years. So what do you think happened in the year I was 84? A couple of years ago. Okay, I'll tell you. Nothing too radical. My husband died. We had COVID. I had a fabulous love affair with a younger guy. And I had hip replacement surgery. Oh, and my grandson
Wow.
moved in, and he's
Rock
living.
on Uranus, right? That's great.
I guess I believe in, if you're going to do it with verve, right? Anyways, generally at age 84, they're talking about preparing for your life, your death, your final steps. And anyway, I guess I did that. Now there are other, all the planets circle the sun and come back to the position and have some sort of an impact. But those are the main ones that we talk about. Saturn return, the Uranus, and what's the other one I was talking about? Saturn.
You said you were going to talk
Talk about Pluto. You mentioned you were going to talk about
Okay, we're
Pluto,
gonna talk about
right?
Pluto. Okay. Any questions about those two?
No, but it's
60.
good to pay attention to. This is really helping, Joan, helping me to understand what to pay attention for, right?
And as you're counseling, we all have clients or friends or members of our personal church that we're talking to. Well, if you know their age, let's say they're coming up on 60, or they're just getting that 60. They're going to make a big change, and you can kind of alert them to that. Gee whiz, oh, you're turning 60, there's a big change coming up in your life. How do I know? Why am I predicting that? Well, the planets do it, but help you go through that evolution. How are we doing?
Great.
Great.
This
great,
is
great.
wonderful. We're at about 7:08 p.m.
7:08.
We can go as long as you want, right up till 8, or as short. You
Well, I'm
are the
probably not
guide.
going to go to 8 because
Okay, no worries. You don't have to.
Good. Good. I have one more thing that I'm going to talk about. Well, maybe one, maybe two. Okay, one more thing. Pluto is very, very far out in the space, and it takes 248 years to come back to its return to the same position. So when the United States was formed, Pluto was in a certain position. Now you have to understand that everything has an astrology chart. Everything has a birth time. So the birth time of the United States has an astrology chart. One of the guys that I never learned how to do this, but one of the fellows that I heard about figured out the astrology charts for different corporations and worked them and made a ton of money.
Ha!
Now, we might want to look into that and figure that one out, right? Might be a good course of action. But anyway, everything has a birth time, everything has a chart, and everything has returns. So Pluto has been out roaming around in the space and now is back to exactly where it was when the United States was born. And what happens, you see, when a planet comes back to its spot, what happens? Change. So what we're going through right now with the United States is change and upheaval. Now, 248 years ago, not only was the United States in the midst of revolution and forming a new country, but France was in revolution and they were forming a new way of governing. And there were other countries also. It was a time of revolution. Now, what we are in right now is a time of revolution. I don't know if you feel it, but I certainly feel it. And it will gradually sort itself out. Each planet has a purpose, okay? Saturn, the one that you run into at the end of 30 years, is called the teacher, the educator. So it comes around and at 30 years, it educates. Mars is the warrior. So when it has a strong place in your chart, it has energy going through and changing things. Okay, so Pluto is what I call the uncovering planet, the planet of uncovering. And by that, I mean things that have been going on for a long time and nobody talked about it are being revealed. And that's what we see happening now. A lot of questions going on. Where are we going? How are we going to go forward? What does it mean? So that's one thing that Pluto is doing right now. But Pluto has another gift for us. Isn't this great? He's been in Capricorn for a long time. And right now I'm forgetting the number of years. He's moving into Aquarius. Okay? Aquarius is, so Capricorn, remember, Capricorn is an earth sign. the symbol is a sea goat, which means they're always searching for a solid footing. So that's Capricorn, looking for stability. Now we have Pluto moving into Aquarius, an air sign. Aquarius is the new inventions, computers, artificial intelligence, space trips, UFOs, all things that are very new and very just being discovered and being uncovered. So we're moving into this whole new era away from the moved from the agricultural to the industrial. Now we're completing the move from industrial into electronics. So we're seeing some incredible times, and it's a totally amazing time. A lot of people are frightened because there's so much change, and what we can give them is the knowledge and the sureness that life goes on, that we have a spirit that inside us, that we have messages of hope, and that we can go forward quietly and purposefully and not get pushed off the path. But that's what we're going to have to do these next few years, especially. So I'm going to ask you about, have you had feelings, or how have you interpreted what's going on? There's so much disorder right now. How are you feeling about that? How are you dealing with it?
Well, I just want to thank you for saying what you just said, Joan, and I want to underline it because I believe it's so powerful. And that is that we are here to support people as they go through these massive changes and let them know there's a soft place where they can land, right? And we can give them assurance, and comfort. And that's exactly, I know why I became a reverend, to do that type of thing. So knowing the astrological information that you're teaching us helps me to do that in a more informed way.
Thank you. Yeah. So
It's depressing.
pardon me?
I think it's depressing. I mean, the things that are going on, it's in women's reproductive rights, and in the states where they're gerrymandering and suppressing people's votes, and whether, man, that stuff is, what the hell? Why are I mean, they're taking away the average person's rights, and the only people that have any, you can only get a certain kind of benefit from your income if you make over, like 7 or 8 digit income. And so it's like, well, what about us? We're the working poor.
Yeah.
It's just, very, it's if I let myself, I listen to Rachel Maddow, and it's like, and she talks about all these things that are changing in the different states, and it's like, I can only do it for a short time, and I have to go
You have to take a break.
look at kittens and puppy dogs or something. I guess I'm just a snowflake. I didn't realize I was such a snowflake.
Well, I just want to honor what did we say about you earlier, Reverend Corky? You're a very
Snowflake?
sensitive, and no, we said you're a very sensitive and a very deep person who has the capacity to go to very deep places. And so if you are that, we have to create strength to protect your joy. And we recommend a news diet, a media diet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we can only take so much of that input when you're a very sensitive person. And I would just answer, Cancerian people, cancers are very sensitive people.
I mean, I've got it, but I was never a particularly political person. I mean, I voted I always voted, but I wasn't particularly, it didn't excite me like it did. You know, to me, it was a drudge to have to look up who was doing what and all that kind of stuff. And, but I felt it was my mother said, you can't bitch if you don't vote. And of course, who wants to give up their right to bitch? So, it's just, as a citizen, I feel it's your right, it's your responsibility to vote. So then, every year I'd have to educate myself, like, who am I voting for and why, and that kind of stuff. So it's always been associated with, I have to, really get in here and study this. So it's been a negative experience. But then when Trump came on board in 2017 or whatever it was, and
2016.
and it was like every day I would look at the news. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and see if he'd blown anything up. I just, for the whole year that he was running, for the whole 4 years that he was, I couldn't, just to say, it's just to find out what was happening so that I could be, get out on stable ground. And I don't like it. It's not my cup of tea. I'd rather be creating things than tearing things down. So.
And that's exactly what you did. I want to offer, Corky. You and Dottie and CCL and UCM. What did we do? We responded proactively. And I just want to thank you for bringing that up. We all responded proactively. What can we do to help? And we did. We did. I mean, many people have received solace and support as they're journeying through these incredibly hard times. And I think that's the wisdom that Joan has to share with us, this evening, is just that power of knowing, how we are and where we come from, and being able to do that outreach, realizing that we can make a difference.
Well, you
Thank you.
mentioned the timeline of revolution. That's what we're living. I never dreamed over 47-year career of nursing I'd be in a pandemic of COVID. I never trained for that, right?
Exactly.
It's the uncovering. You see people at their best and their worst. You see, we had the National Guard fly over to appreciate healthcare workers 1 month, and then next month everybody's suing us because we're making them wear a mask. So it's the yin and the yang, and it's the uncovering, like Joan talked about, of the 240. What was that? 200. Lord, France was in revolution, for God's sakes, right?
The way I've described it is, all the cockroaches have come out of the woodwork. So this whole thing about things being hidden, being an uncovered,
it's all coming out.
Yeah, everything was like
the Supreme Court.
Things were going on, but it was all like real. Yeah, everybody was denying everything, and everybody was not portraying what they were really about. And now it's kind of like it's all out.
So people have asked me, because I'm older, how was it this way when I was young? And so look back at the 50s, and that was Leave It to Beaver environment. And the truth about that was that things were covered up and made to look good. We now know that President Roosevelt had several lady friends. Mm-hmm. And some people have even said that Eleanor was gay. I don't know if she was or not.
They have letters. Yes, she was.
Okay, she was. Dwight D. Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, had a lady lover in Europe when he was directing the forces over there. But of course, we didn't know anything about that. Eisenhower was a war hero. Nothing was wrong with him. All of that was hidden. So it was a very different environment. What seeped down to us individually was that if we were not perfect, we had to keep it hidden. Yeah, we had to keep it hidden. So as then the 60s came, of course, that was sex, drugs, rock and roll. And I got sort of in on the end of that when I got my divorce and did I call it my 17-year party life. So there was revolution in that time. It was another, it was uncovering. It was that things aren't perfect, and they were smashed down. You remember that? They were ridiculed and smashed down. So what I see happening right now in the red states is they're trying to cling to the old values, and they're trying to implant old values that were okay when Pluto was in Capricorn. Those values were accepted and were the way things were. But we're past Capricorn and we're into Aquarius, and so everything's going to change. You know, it used to be marriage was between a man and a woman. Now it's marriages between whoever shows up. And it's disconcerting to a lot of people. The blue states, so the red state, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, the red states seem to be trying to hold on to old values. The blue states seem to be looking forward, moving forward, and being more generous and more inclusive. Their inclusiveness is they're welcoming. You know, California is a what do they call that? Majority, it's a minority majority state. We have more non-white people than we have white people now. And there's other states that are going through that same evolution. And if you look at the names of the people in Congress, a lot of the younger people do not have traditionally American names. So it's another uncovering, and it's an inclusiveness. But, you know, I'm excited that I've lived this long and that we're going through this. One of the ideas I had is that we should each adopt a state and pray for that state, in addition to California, to have a peaceful transition. So one of my friends took Texas. We could probably use more than one person for Texas. But that's one of the ideas that I had that might ease the revolution part of it. But I agree with Corky, and I listened to Rachel Maddow. Fortunately, she's only on one day a week. But
I mean, I believe she's telling the truth too, and that even makes it more depressing.
Oh yeah, very, very much so. And you can find the truth out there if you look for it. Rachel isn't the only person out there. There are a lot of people out there telling us, giving us facts and figures that we can rely on, information we can rely on. So we're going to have to learn to think. And, you know, with all the things that's happening within the schools, people are not being taught to think as much as they used to be. And that's my opinion. But I don't know.
I'd like to, before we go, I want to mention that one of the reasons we were late getting on is that I was talking to Reverend Keith, and he is very sick. He's in Stonegate rehab, and he's down to 92 pounds.
Oh,
and
wow.
If you could call him, I didn't, he's going to be texting me his information, but he's really worried about magic. another, as a minister.
Right.
And she is all by herself. Her legs aren't working. She's not able to take care of herself. And both of them are feeling this financial crush of not having the money that they need to take care of themselves. So if you could, after we're done, just think of this, that we have two of our UCM people who are going through a very difficult time. And it would be great if you could see fit to put them in your evening prayers.
Oh, that's a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful idea, Reverend Dottie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
that.
letting us know.
Yeah. Well,
And
keep
they're
it-
beloved elders of our church, actually.
Mhm.
They're an amazing, amazing, two people that are so generous with their wisdom and their support and their energy. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And that's the important thing of as we go forward, we can each develop our own group that we're ministering to and reach out to them. Jeannie Lyons has been having some health issues. She's better today and looks forward to being healed and back in the saddle again. Yes, I'm ready to
Yeah.
quit.
So no,
Oh,
I'm just going to
wait,
put
hold on.
down that we put Keith and that we put Magic and that we put all of the people that maybe we want to put, into that unified light that we all have right now. So,
Okay, let me just open it up for discussion, then we're gonna quit. Do
we'll
you
take as
have,
much as you want to give because this is so good.
what thoughts do you have about how to go forward? What can you personally do to go forward in a peaceful manner and help others go forward in that peaceful manner? Or what are you doing, or what is your commitment, or how do you feel about what's happening today?
Well, Joan,
Kevin,
go ahead,
do you have
Kevin.
some thoughts, Kevin?
Oh, I thought he had. Okay.
No, I didn't have anything at the moment. If
So Joan, what you were saying, I just want to underline it. Again, not to belabor it, but knowing a little bit about astrology and what it can indicate to us has been very helpful, because if I know a person's age, if I know a little bit about their chart, I might be able to support them in validating what they're going through, right? That's a real way, I believe, that we could provide support. So this information today is very powerful. And also with the seasons of the moon, the phases of the moon, being able to really explore what that means, in a more clear way, that was great.
Thank you for that feedback, Joyce and Patty.
Yeah, okay. So 1962, it's an important day in my life because that was the year that my family, all 12 of us, broke up into pieces in the middle of the night and stole away to Santa Barbara, California. And we did that so that my father or none of the older men that were still left in the family, my brothers, no one would get arrested and put into prison, which usually stops families from leaving. That was a turning point about you can achieve anything, but you have to believe. And so what I'm hearing is it's really important for us to believe and to send out that kind of energy as opposed to fear and anger and all those kinds of things, because that really will just ravel you. And to know that it's okay to have that for everybody. You don't have to just pick a group. And that I just wanted to share that because I've been practicing doing energy or sending out as long as I can remember. And I don't say only just for the people on this street, which I live. I say for the entire planet. I just put everybody in. And what I am sending out, inner peace, calmness, working together, you know, just good communications. And we have come up to a time now with how things are moving. And as Joan has laid it out to us, the planets are doing what they are going to do. Now, the question is, what are we going to do to help to bring some balance and stability? Because going into anger and rage and fear only makes what is happening that we're saying we don't want to gain momentum, because they live on it.
Mhm.
One thing I have learned in my life is negative people thrive on you giving them negativity. You know, that hate thing, and you can't do, you know, all that stuff. But negative people I've found don't usually like for you to be positive around them. They want to tell you all about all the stuff that's wrong.
Yeah.
So in balance, we send healing, we send blessings, we send compassion, whatever it is that works for you. You know, because like I said, the turning point in my life, I was 12 years old. And I saw my mother and my two older sisters design this system. Okay. And what we left with was the clothes we carried. That's it. Nothing that was held as precious to us. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. But what we did was we held on to that feeling. And when we got to Santa Barbara, and this is important or I wouldn't share it, in 3 years, we were able to buy a home. When all the Black families there were not living in these places, this place we were living, it was considered restricted. So all the white folks moved out. They didn't want us there. And then all the white folks who didn't care moved in. And to this day, I enjoy that one. That's a wonderful, I enjoy that story. And it was an amazing thing because all the Black folks got upset. Many of them through the church, they got upset. You know why? Who are you? You can come in here and do this. And we're thinking, you've been here for 20, 30 years and you're still living in the Black isolated areas where you're supposed to live and be good Blacks. That was the talk, right? And so what I'm saying is, we don't just isolate sending the good, because I believe that good energy can help to remove the darkness. You don't just say, I'm not going to send it to whatever state it is that is doing this or doing that. You send it. Those who are going to receive it will, and I believe out of that, they will have change. There's something good can happen. Because we cannot say we know. We can just share it. You know, so I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate what you've said. And there's a book called The Warmth of Other Suns that documents the families that moved from the South, exactly like Joyce is talking about, to Detroit, Los Angeles, Oakland, New York, Chicago, and how they had to move. And what happened was that their one family member, one family went somewhere, like you had a family that went to Santa Barbara that you knew. And what they did was write back and say, you know, it's pretty nice here. And so then other people started planning, because I bet you weren't the only ones that moved to Santa Barbara.
No, after we moved there, nearly everyone we knew on the plantation we lived on, and we lived on a plantation. There was at least 3 plantations in the area, and all the families we knew, and our names I will not call, within 2 to 3 years, they were all in Santa Barbara. And they got children, they got jobs. You see, nobody was coming in there to live on the street. There was jobs available. They got jobs. They live well. They've done well. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all of that happened. And it's because the word went to those who wanted to hear. They were open to something better, because it had to be better than working a step above being enslaved for $1 a day, and that you had no power, no nothing. And think about it, that you could go to some place where you could earn a decent living, live in a decent house, running water, heat, electricity, right? And do well and get medical treatment. All of this was missing when you lived out in the country. And so, yeah.
In the South, in the country, it certainly was.
Yes. Because that was.
Book, if you want to learn more about that whole process, that book is incredible. I actually read it out loud to Earl. Every night we'd read a couple of pages, and we just were so entranced with what people did and how they did it. And that's what that's why there's so many people on the border. You have to understand that in the US, I read about one family that with their 3 kids traveled 7,000 miles on foot through jungle. Why did they do that? To have a nice life, So that's where we're at. We're in a time of tremendous change, and it's going to be I'm glad I'm here. It's an amazing time, and we're going to see amazing changes going forward. And just know that there's goodness coming out of this. Look at what came out of the last revolution. We born a new country. And what's going to happen this time is we're going to born a new country somehow. I believe it will be, I don't know if it'll be geographically different, governmentally different, but it's going to be different. We can't go through this much turmoil and not have things be different in the future. Okay, I want to say just a quick prayer, and then we're going to close it out. So, Universal Spirit, thank you so much for this time we've spent together. It was just so special to share this information and learn again about loving each other, loving all those in our family and our community, and extending out, like Joyce says, love the world, because the world needs our love right now. And we know how to love. We know how to embrace the Holy Spirit that's within each person and encourage it to march forward in its own way toward creating peace and harmony, growth, and a forward-looking environment. I am so blessed to be here today doing this, sharing these thoughts with all of you. Thank you, Universal Spirit. Amen. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your synthesis of this incredible information.
Yeah, very
Great.
exciting.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, woke me up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right. Got us thinking, got the juices going. I love it. And my friends, so I just want to let you know, for April, we are going to have Reverend Dr. Arlene Phelan talk about the dimensionality of spirit and
Ah.
how many different traditions can come to bring together deep wisdom and healing.
That
So
is
don't
awesome.
miss it. Yes,
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'd like to say one thing is that
absolutely.
this Sunday it's going to be Mary Gary speaking about Irish, being Irish and how being Irish has influenced her spirituality.
Oh,
And
that's
then
wonderful.
Joyce is going to be speaking and the second Sunday in April. So they swapped
Beautiful.
so that Mary could talk on St. Patrick's Day. And
Well,
I
that's
think
so perfect.
and I think that Juliet's going to come and maybe
Beautiful.
she'll channel Patrick. I'm not sure. And also this coming Sunday is going to be our chat and what is it? Snack and chat, where we
Beautiful.
stay after for an hour and talk and have something and coffee and whatever and just kind
Great.
of have
I'll
some
bring some
community
gluten
time.
free. That's wonderful. I'll bring some
You're gonna
gluten-free
bring gluten-free?
Oreos. You got
Awesome.
it.
Okay. And I mean, you're all welcome to bring stuff if you want to, but I'll have some stuff.
I'll
Joan,
bring
do you-
cookies again.
That's
Are you gonna bring
wonderful.
cookies, Joan?
Yeah, and do you like those little quiche things that I brought?
Oh, the quiche things are delicious.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, if you
That's
want,
wonderful.
but we will have like a cheese and cracker plate and
Great.
that kind of stuff. So,
Well, thank you so much. I mean, that's the
thank
way
you,
we
Joan.
build
That was wonderful.
community. That
Sorry
was
we were late.
you.
We're just
fantastic.
having a hard time getting on.
Thank you,
And-
Joan.
It's fine.
And
Just
my friends, we just are so appreciative. And if you would like to donate for this wonderful presentation, don't hesitate. Universal Church of the Master, we would
just open the
love
door.
it.
But there's light.
Thank you so much. Remember that you are loved, and this is a gift that we can give to each other.
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful, everyone.
Bye, everybody. See
Thank
y'all
you.
later.
Take care.
Bye.
nice
Have a good
evening.
night.
Ciao for now.
Thank you,
It was
everyone.
great,
I
Joe.
enjoyed my
Thank you, Joan.
Bye bye.